Assalamualaikum students. Today again we are going to focus on alternative energy resources in Pakistan. As you all know that in Pakistan non-renewable fossil fuels reserves are quite less, or if these are present they are not of good quality. So that is why in 2003 Pakistan's government decided to set up an institute with the name of Alternative Energy Development Board, and the main responsibility of this board was to locate the areas where the renewable energy resources can produce the electricity. Now as you can see on this map that there are two circles, so these two circles are showing the geothermal potential in these areas, the Himalayan and the Chaghi Hills, but unfortunately this project could not be worked on. We will discuss hydroelectric power afterwards. Rectangle on the map shows the Qaid-e-Azam solar park, and it is in the Bahawalpur. The solar panels are generating the electricity. The main location for wind energy project in Pakistan is Lower Sindh. You can see in the south that there is 80 kilometers of coastline westward from Gharu, Keti Bandar, and it is generating the wind power. In the south east of Gharu there is the area of Jampir, where the Fuji fertilizers established the wind power with the help of the Turkish company. Satellite images of Turbela Dam, and you know that the Turbela Dam is located on the Indus River. It is the world's largest earth-filled dam. Now what is earth-filled dam? The dam that is made up of the compacted earth or the compacted soil, and most of the time the soil is so much compacted that it is changed into impermeable material to stop the water flow. Canals installed from this dam are mostly lined, means that are having the concrete embankment. Ghazi Brodha Hydro Power Project is also located on the Indus River. It is 7 kilometers downstream from the Turbela Dam. It is actually a barrage that is capable of generating electricity due to the turbines installed in it. Solar Park project started in November 2014 and it accomplished in Feb 2015. This project was financed by the Asian Development Bank, so the China and Pakistan worked together. Now look at the Jampir wind power plant. It is located at Jampir in Thatta district, and it is established by a Turkish company. The total cost of this project was 143 million US dollar. Now just have a look on the advantages of alternative resources of energy. Number one is that it is environment friendly. Most of the students in the previous assignment did not develop this point. You have to write that the alternative resources do not emit the gases which are obviously increasing the earth's temperature. So since they do not increase gases, so these are environment friendly. In alternative resources, fossil fuels are not used, so the running cost is quite low. That is why the imported fuels also decrease in the import bill, and that is beneficial for the country. Then the areas which are quite far away from the national grid can get electricity by the alternative resources, like we have discussed about the solar panels and the solar power. Some of the resources can even produce electricity till 1000 megawatt, like the solar. Now, what are the disadvantages of alternative resources? Some of the resources cannot work in all type of weather conditions, like the solar panel in the cloudy seasons cannot generate electricity. In the same way, the windmill cannot perform its function at the zero. So the other disadvantage is that the machines are required for generation of electricity, and Pakistan is not having the technical aid to generate such type of machines in the country. Then we have to import these machines, and these imports can increase the import bill, and this would lead towards the negative balance of trade. Negative balance of trade, as we have discussed before, that it is when the imports are more than the exports of a country. Then we can say that to some extent these alternative resources can damage the natural habitat as well, like the solar panels need a lot of area for its installment, so maybe we have to clear the forest. That the some of alternative resources like the water cannot be set up anywhere. When we have to get the electricity from the water resources, we have to see the mountainous area, because the mountain slopes used to provide the suitable condition for the construction of a wall of the dam. Now, what is a national grid system? It is a network of high voltage power lines between the major power stations in the country. Major power stations are present maybe at the hydroelectric power or a thermal power station. Between these, the major power stations used to transmit the electricity. Now, what are some of the advantages of national grid? National grid used to provide electricity to all parts of the country according to their demand. Like in the industrial cities where the load shedding cannot be afforded, there the more electricity used to be provided, and there less load shedding hours can be received. And the remote areas where the load shedding doesn't matter, so there would be more load shedding hours and the less electricity would be provided. Then we can say that in a thermal power plant there is some problem, and there is failure, so the areas which are getting electricity through the thermal power plants can get electricity from the other areas. Then the industrial growth can increase with the help of the national grid. Like the national grid used to decrease the load shedding hours. Then we can say that it used to provide the electricity to those areas where electricity were not produced. And last but not the least, that it used to keep the pollution away from the residential areas, so the electricity mostly produced away from the residential areas. Look at the disadvantages of national grid. National grid is consisting on the long distance electrical wires, and these wires in case of long distance can cause heavy electrical loss. Then it is difficult to maintain these electrical wires, since the sun rays and the other weathering agents can damage the outer covering of the wire. Then it is also very expensive to spread these transmission lines, especially to the areas where the surface is uneven, like in Balochistan. So these remote areas are mostly not connected with the national grid. Then we can say that in long distances electrical theft is quite common, where especially the government offices are not established there. Most of the time electrical theft is committed. Sometimes the national grid is also a cause of accidents, especially in case of thunderstorms. What is rural electrification? It is the process of bringing electrical power to rural or the remote areas. In Pakistan, village aid, basic democracy, rural works program are working for provision of electricity to these remote and rural areas. What could be the benefit of this? It can run the tube wells, it can provide education, especially when we talk about the distance education through the internet or TV. It can provide to the people living in the remote areas, and the TV, radio and other mediums which are used to provide the information can provide information in case of the provision of electricity. Then these people can work to establish their small scale cottage industry. This cottage industry obviously helpful in provision of employment, and that can lead towards a better living standard of the people. So the people would not migrate towards the cities for getting a better living standard.